We know what they do to them. Wow, there's a chance that she's going to come out. We were all ringing each other. Is your one on the list? I had to lie. And that was a feeling of guilt. We all want peace.
Take us back, if you will, to October the 7th. What was going through your mind as this series of horrifying Hamas terror attacks was underway?
Just like other mornings, you're woken up by the sound of sirens. It means there's incoming missiles. So you just immediately stop what you're doing and move quickly to the bomb shelter. We have 11 seconds in Kibbutz Be'eri. We're very close to Gaza.
At the time, you gave an incredibly powerful interview to US TV in which you felt at that point that Emily, your daughter, had died, and you expressed a sentiment that you felt that that was a better fate for her than being kidnapped by Hamas terrorists and taken into a Gaza tunnel. Tell us how you were feeling in that exact moment and why you felt exactly how you felt.
It's not the first time that we've had Israelis kidnapped and captured, and they can hold them for years. And we know what they do to them while they're in captivity. And she's a girl. It's usually the soldiers that it's happened to in the past, but nothing like this. You know, it was men, women, children, babies, the old, the infirmed. So this was on a much more horrific level. When they informed me that she was found in the kibbutz and she was found dead. They were the three statements that they told me. And this is let's say a few days after the 7th, and it was relief. Yeah, I wasn't happy, of course, but I was relieved that she was at peace. She wouldn't go through what they were going to put the rest of them through. Like, I already knew that that's what they were going to do. Starvation, lack of water. The water that they did get smelt of drains. It wasn't clean water. They refused to drink it for as long as they could, but in the end they had to drink this smelly water. Emily ate, she says, on most days, which means not every day, a quarter of a pitta. So she basically survived on a quarter of a pitta most days. At the time, I literally, I was thinking about everything, every possibility. You know, your mind goes wild. And I'm thinking, well, possibly the kidnappers themselves wouldn't have that much food to give them. But apparently when Emily came out and started talking about it, they had plenty, like plenty of food. The hostages could smell the cooking, the preparing of food. They could see it, but they weren't given any. So it was, yeah, it was just more another way of inflicting damage to the captors.
You're going through this heartbreaking hell, and then having believed Emily hadn't survived, you're then informed that she is one of the hostages. How did you
Yeah,
take in that information?
within a second went into the nightmare that I thought I wasn't going to have to go through. She was taken along with Hila, her friend, and the mother of Hila, Raya. We only discovered that 30 days later. An eyewitness said that they saw Raya and her 2 kids being led away. So we went, Raya hasn't got 2 kids. So it was obviously Hila and Raya. I literally can't describe the feelings. Utter terror of what she was going to have to go through, what Hila and the mother was going to go through. Thank God Hila and Raya were with her. They kept them in the group of 5 from the time they were located somewhere in Gaza. There was Hila, Raya, Emily, Noah, who has just been released, thank God. And unfortunately, Itai Svirsky from our kibbutz, they, after Emily was released, I got news that they'd killed him, unfortunately.
And the days and the weeks go by, the horrendous detail of those atrocities are coming out all the time. And then suddenly, 50 days in, Emily, your little girl, comes back to you. Tell us about clasping eyes on Emily for the first time since she was kidnapped.
Completely unbelievable. The night before, the army ring you up. They let you know your child, your loved one, is on the list for release. Your instant reaction is, whoa, elation, absolute joy. Just, wow, there's a chance that she's going to come out. But you instantly suppress that because in 24 hours over here is a very long time. Anything could happen. The negotiation could break down over the most minor difficulty, both on our side or on their side, you know. Until I saw her blue eyes, I had to keep everything suppressed. I couldn't release my joy. And also, when the army tell you, they say don't tell anybody. It's all very hush hush. So obviously, I told my son and daughter, my older son and daughter, but that was it. Even other families with kids in there would ring me. We were all ringing each other saying, you know, is she on the list? Is your one on the list? And I had to lie. And it was awful, and it was a feeling of guilt because your one's coming out, and I don't know if they're ringing me, so you know you have to presume that theirs isn't on the list. It was so much joy and so much guilt at the same time.
When you do finally see Emily again, that first hug, it must have been like nothing you've ever experienced.
No, it's about the same joy as when your child is born. This is probably even better, but it's that same type of joy. Yeah, she's reborn in a way. Only from the video I remember what was coming out of my mouth. Yeah, you're blown away. Your mind is blown. Her name is Emily. We have many variations of it, like Emmy, Emily, Emush, and I think I was saying mush, 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 mush. Ridiculous, but you have no control of your emotions or your mouth or anything. It's just elation. Yeah, the same emotion comes every time, even though it's not your own child. For everyone that's released, the whole country just goes wild. It's like another life returned. Especially Noah, because they were together as a group. That was fantastic. You know, you'd never think that you're going to get someone so close out.
And then the hard work really starts, which is to put Emily's life back together because everything has changed where you live. her entire experience of life to this point?
Yeah, until the point that we got her back. I was campaigning all around the world to get her back. Like I say, keeping pressure on the Irish government, the Israeli government, and all the governments of the world to release some of the hostages. It's inhumane what they're doing. We thought it was going to be a long, hard road to get her back to normal. But thankfully, she's resilient. She's a child and a very powerful girl. A lot of inner strength. So where we thought we were going to get, it's called, in the Hebrew, you say a smartut, which just means a rag, you know, like a floppy rag. And she was weak. She was, she'd been starved basically for 50 days, no sunlight. She was underweight. She was white as a ghost. I'd never seen her that white. And her voice was not even a whisper. It was less than a whisper. It was almost non-existent because the Hamas had threatened her with a knife, all of them with a knife, if they'd raised their voices above a whisper. So that I thought was going to be a very difficult thing to get over. But it was a very, very big clue as to the conditions that she was held under, how much fear, how much terror she was under to come out, even after being released with that same tiny voice. So yeah, that was horrendous. But the recovery has been much, much, much faster than we could have dreamed of. We put her in certain therapies, dog training, anything to give her back some confidence, some feeling of control, because she'd lost all control of her life. And so if you imagine sitting on a massive horse, full-sized horse, and you're in control of it, it gives you back a lot of confidence. Something else is at your will. You're not at somebody else's will. Singing classes, theatre classes, all to get her voice back. The whispering lasted a while, but thankfully she's at full volume now.
Good for you. That's really, really, really great to hear. And how is she interacting with people outside of the family, her classmates, her teachers? How are those relationships?
She came out very much more mature than when she went in. She went in at 8, came back at 9. She had her 9th birthday in there. But she's much more mature than 9. She gets on well with adults, children, animals. Yeah, miracle, a miracle.
What are your dreams for Emily and for your family? And how do you feel about potentially going back to live where you used to live in the kibbutz, which has been absolutely destroyed by marauding Hamas terrorists?
My ultimate dream is for Emily to really fully recover, live a normal life, and not have any recurring nightmares or triggers that will put her into anxiety. There are a few still, but I hope, of course, one day it will all go away. Live a normal life, basically. I hope my eldest son and daughter also get back to a normal life. We're not yet. I'm still not. I'm basically Emily's carer, which is fine. I'm her father, but I have no time to go to work. My son, he doesn't know what to do with himself. You know, where do you go from here? What's a normal job? It's almost irrelevant. It's hard to get back into normal life, real life. My daughter is, I'd say, suffering a bit more than my eldest son. You know, they both lost their mother. She was killed on the day. This is my ex-wife, Narkis. That's a hard thing to get over. And on top of that, we all thought that we'd lost Emily as well, which is their sister. So on that day, the 7th, we all thought that we'd lost Narkis and Emily. It's quite hard. As strange as it seems, it's not as hard as other people in the kibbutz and the south. Some families were obliterated, destroyed. The Sharabi families, Lian, Noya, ír-izraeli, all killed on the day. A woman, 13-year-old child, 16-year-old child, and they took her husband, and they took her husband's brother, Yossi, who was later killed along with Ittai. You know, 2 whole families. And they're not the only ones. We got away lightly. Sounds amazing to say, but yeah, we only lost one family member and got another one back.
We only lost one family member. I mean, that's just to have to say that out loud.
It's a ridiculous statement, but it's true.
Of course, this week marks 250 days of captivity for many hostages.
Yeah.
What's your feeling and your thoughts for the families of those relatives, of those guys, girls, elderly, held for 250 days?
You know, another ridiculous statement is Emily was only held for 50 days, kidnapped by the Hamas terrorists. Only 50 days. And now it's 100, 150, 200, 250. I can't imagine. I know what I went through. I know what my family went through. So I cannot imagine doubling and trebling and quadrupling that timescale for the families, for the hostages themselves, the friends. You know, you take one person, they've got a mother and a father and brothers and sisters and then immediate friends and relatives. That's just one person. The effect is enormous to each and every family. I don't know how the families are waking up in the morning. It's got to be very hard. It's got to be very, very hard. And the hostages themselves, they're going to come out very, as Noah did the other day, malnourished. It's not just a lack of food. You start losing vitamins, proteins, all sorts of things, which, you know, damages your body, possibly on a long-term basis, not just eat and, you know, recover and put on weight. No, it damages livers and kidneys and all sorts of stuff. So I hope they're medically going to be okay after such a long time.
And what has been beyond your experience and Emily's experience, what has been the most frustrating element of this war? Because even the IDF rescuing 4 hostages this week, Israel were criticized for not warning Hamas in advance.
That's pretty frustrating. That the world doesn't understand what the hell is going on. If you want to say something, express an opinion, investigate it, understand the subject that you're going to talk about. It's ludicrous. I actually heard a television reporter say that. How comes we didn't give them a warning that we were going to do a military operation to rescue hostages? I mean, ignorant. Come on. I can't believe she, as a professional, asked that. She should be sacked. How shameful. people are very vocal and demonstrative about their feelings about what's going on. Well, why is there no vocalization or demonstrations on such a scale for what happened to us? There was a ceasefire on the 6th. There was peace. It'd been very quiet, reasonably quiet. We were still getting missiles and stuff, but that's the norm. But it was relatively quiet for about 2 years before the 6th. And on the 7th, the Hamas, the government, the power of Gaza, invaded Israel as an army. Well, I'm sure they expected a response. What's a government supposed to do? Sit back and go, you know what? Forget about it. They killed over 1,200 people. Let that go. They kidnapped 240, 250 hostages, killing many of them. There's only 120 left. How is a government, a country, supposed to respond to that? You have to respond. And they expected a response. They know we're going to respond in a very big way. Retaliate is the word. Retaliate to something you have done. And then cry about it afterwards. I feel terrible for the loss of the lives in Gaza, women and children and babies. We have no other way of dealing with it. The Hamas are hiding behind civilians. They know what they're doing. It was a very well-planned operation. That took at least a year to plan, just the logistics, the arming yourselves, getting all the vehicles together, the paragliders. They knew what we were going to do. They have no regard for their own citizens. It's a shame. It's an awful shame.
Thomas, we have watched your story unfold over the last 8 months. We have seen you go through emotions that no human being should ever have to go through, but we've also seen an incredible story of recovery, an incredible reunion. What is your hope for your family and the region as the days, weeks, and months and years progress?
We want peace. We all want peace. The people of Gaza, I'm sure, want peace. They have no choice in the matter, but I'm sure they want peace. The Israelis, the Jews, we want peace. If they can give us back all the hostages, obviously they're not all going to be alive, but give us all the bodies back. Give us every hostage back, living or dead. We can then have a ceasefire and try and get back some kind of normality. Let's say, get back to the 6th of October, the way it was then. It's still terrible. We're still being bombed and missiled and running to our bomb shelters, but it was tolerable, let's say. If we can get back to that as a country, that'd be great. But it's in their hands. They're not just going to one day, let's say next week or next month, turn around and go, listen, we made a bit of a mistake by taking all these hostages. Here they are. They're not going to do that. It's only by our military pressure, which we have to do, that have brought the first group of hostages back, Emily included. And it's the only thing that will bring any other hostages back, apart from our own IDF military rescue. We have no other choice. Give us back the hostages. Let's get around the table. Let's go back to the 6th.